Like, there is no way to make this right now. Like, we've been months into these things not working. And I said that, I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't align with my core values. Like this, I don't want to be having this conversation. If it was meant to have been resolved, it would have been resolved by now, and it's not.
There we go. This is the Living Numbers podcast where everyone is interesting if you ask the right questions. Of course, make sure you all share, rate, and review 5 stars. I said I wasn't going to ask y'all to do anything else besides share, rate, review 5 stars. Of course, subscribe. That's how you get the extra stuff. Me and Emi just talked about coffee. We talked about moving a lot. And we also talked about music and the different stuff that we're listening to right now. So make sure you subscribe so you can get the extra stuff. Follow me on IG and TikTok, The Living Numbers Podcast. And I got the merch link in the description. T-shirts and hoodies mostly. With that being said, my wonderful guest is here, as you all can see if you're watching this on YouTube. And we cannot move any further without giving her an elaborate introduction. So, hailing from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I believe, our
Mm-hmm.
guest is the CEO of Empress Enterprises. Definitely more on that later. Creator and host of the Women Who Build Empires podcast, which recently went through a bit of a name change.
Mm-hmm.
She's affecting the future by teaching 7th to 12th graders how to write business plans and pitches. Something I actually get into with my kids at school. Another thing that we have some overlap on. She believes in eating chocolate for breakfast. And she's on a mission to help more ambitious female entrepreneurs make it well past the $1 million mark. Coffee sipper, adventurer, seeker, and dream beach nomad. I present the Emi Kirschner. Say hello to the people.
Hello, people. And thank you so much. That is by far one of the best introductions I have had. And I think you covered all of my kind of random areas.
It's always hard to get people into like this 30, 40 seconds, but I do my best. It's one of my favorite things I do.
Well,
So
you did it really well.
thank you. We're going to get here into our first number. And me and Emmy actually talked about this just a little bit in our pre-show kind of talk. We kicked it around, and our number here is 1 or 3 because you can look at this one of 3 ways. She is 1 part intuitive, 1 part strategist, and 1 part creative. I don't know if that will be a 1 or 3, however you want to count it up. Okay. The first question I want to ask is, how do these parts overlap in me? Because those are very different parts, right? You talked about how these things work a little bit. So go into depth a little bit more about that with us. How do they overlap? I think that's going to be our first way we open this thing up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm first part intuitive. So
Mm,
I do a lot of things because they feel right and they work for me. And I don't have a lot of explanation. And that helps me with my clients because I just get stuff. Like I just
mm,
understand where they're at, who they are in a different way and on a deeper level than the average human. Um, Next is the creative. I love making stuff. Like I can create ideas or cook something up or play with different things endlessly, right? And those are
mm,
great because being able to connect with people, really having cool, deep, meaningful conversations, being able to create stuff is great in business, except it doesn't help if you don't know your numbers
mm,
and there's a strategy piece and an analysis that really needs to happen to be able to make smart decisions.
Mm.
And where they overlap, and one of my areas of genius is that I'm able to help people who tend to lean a little bit more towards that creativity side. So when I say spreadsheet, their eyes roll up in the back of their head a little bit, and and break some of those things down so they can be strategic in their decision making, how they're growing their business, what they're choosing to do, because they can generate ideas and create things really fast and frequently pretty well, even though it's happening really fast. But and that's great, but you want to also have a place to put that thing and allow it to grow and actually bring it to market.
Mm.
So it's been really beneficial for me, and I love being able to help my clients that way.
It really sounds like you help people to maximize their efficiency, right? It's good to have all of these different roles and hats, but you got to wear them in the most effective way, right? You're not going to take an umbrella out when it's not raining, right? That's not what you
Correct.
want to do to maximize what you have. Um,
Right. Yeah. So I work with all service based businesses, and they started their business because they love doing whatever it is they're doing. And that could be
mhm,
anything from accounting to a wellness center to an attorney to interior design or a marketing agency. They love the thing that they do and they're great at doing it. That's a whole different part of the business than actually running the business. So I help them move out of the doer piece, the employee piece, and into the CEO and helping them run the business, and not only thinking from that place, but also leading from that place. So they're growing their team,
mm.
they're thinking about their long term visions, and um, really really like expanding their long term vision into a bigger place so they can hit that $1 million mark, because most women don't.
Why do you think that is? In your work and your research and all of the experience that you've had.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of studies are coming out and validating what I intuitively know is that women tend to not ask for help enough. They tend to have a little bit more of imposter syndrome, and they tend to DIY far too long. And all of those things keep them either stuck or not growing as quickly in building their business as guys. Yeah.
So, if you were to give somebody like a step, because I like to always say like start with step one. What will be step one for anyone?
In becoming more of a CEO,
Hmm.
I would look around and look at the things that either you don't enjoy doing or you struggle with that, they're not in your zone of genius,
Mm.
and identify one, because there may be a list of 10 things that you can compile, and delegate it. Ask a friend, ask a high school student. Like when I first
Mm.
started my business, I didn't have the revenue to hire even contractors or a VA, so I hired interns through the high school. And some of those interns, they needed training, so you have to budget time, but some of
Right.
them helped me improve my writing. Like they were
Mm.
really great kids, and it was a wonderful give and take. So, yeah, and
How
ask
did
for
you get
support.
into? How did you get into with the like? What was your first contact? Because I'm a high school teacher, so I know how that push and pull and that give and take can be. So, what was what was your first experience, right? You have already kind of created this plan, like, all right, this is how I'm gonna go about it. I'm gonna get these high school kids, and day one happens, and you're in there and you're in the weeds with them, and you're trying to teach them things. Like, what was that first experience like with those kids
As an intern, or when I'm teaching them to pitch for the investor panel, because it's two different things.
when you're having them intern and work for you and help you out?
Okay, when I'm having them work. So I interview them. I put them through an interview process,
Mm,
and I Yes, and my general intention is to have like a stepped process of giving them more and more responsibility. So really allowing them to come into the business and understand what I'm doing and what's important to me, whether I'm working with a high school intern or an employee. For me, having them understand my core values, my mission, my vision statement, what's important for me, is crucial to their ability to be able to succeed. And if they don't buy into those things, like if they're not like, yes, that makes sense and I'm excited about doing that, right? Like, then I don't want to work with them because they're not going to have a great experience. So that's step one. And then it's giving them small tasks and letting them build into whatever the ultimate goal is that I want them to be able to take on. So I had the bulk of my interns doing some social media and like getting my newsletter out. I would write the content. My last intern edited and then would send it out through MailChimp or whatever I was using at the time.
Mm.
And so it was, here's what the social media looks like. One, you do far more social media than I do because you're way younger. So what can I improve on? Right?
Right.
Let me use your brain, what it's excellent at, and get some of their feedback. We create something and then um, allowing them to kind of work on that, and then we'll go to the next thing. So I like the stepped.
When did the vision come to you? Right, because you've had tons of experience, which you can start at the beginning to have this larger, Empress Emprises. When did that kind of start to take shape in your mind?
I've had I want to say the bigger vision, but it's been very vague and foggy until
Mm.
a couple of months ago for over a decade.
Wow.
And yeah, like I knew there was this bigger thing that I wanted to accomplish and that it was out there. I just wasn't sure what the path was or what it was. And instead of letting that like stop me or be afraid of it, because it's like I think the mind naturally wants to start like, all right, well, I don't see all the pieces, so where are they and what do I do and how do I figure this out and how do I make this thing linear and concrete? I just left it open because it'll all fill in
Mm.
eventually, and I knew it was a very long term, um, essentially multi-decade plan at this point. And um, and there's learning too. Like had I had had a catering business, but it grew very organically. So what I was doing there and what I was doing as a coach are two totally different things. So I
Mm.
could take some of those experiences when I started this business, but it wasn't a complete transition of skill sets. Um, and there's been a lot of fumbling. I think as with any business owner, there's been a lot of fumbling. There's been a lot of mistakes. There's been a lot of failure. There's been a lot of shifts. There's been a lot of we're just going to scrap that and start over again. There's and there's been a lot of cool things. Like I've helped a lot of people. And one of the things that I'm always grateful about is the impact that and the ripple effect that I have because my clients then take what they learn, particularly from a mindset perspective, and share that with somebody else and then they share that with somebody else. So I don't even know how like what that looks like, and it doesn't matter to me. I just know it's happening.
What's
So
one? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, so to kind of move into what the longer term vision is now, it's really solidified. It's really growing the business coaching into a community. I do high level coaching, high touch coaching because that's what for me gets the best results. It's what I believe um, people benefit from the most from, but creating this community of women who can then go and reach other people as well. And then bringing in and starting to do events at a property that I own. Not yet, but will own. And then also being able to kind of go back to my roots if I love organic local food, and being able to kind of sublet some of that property and have a farm and farm to table restaurant, and then having other like-minded people coming in and doing events at said property. So I've got a very clear vision and kind of a general time frame right now of when I want all of those things to happen.
So as a kid, right? Because when people start to talk about like what they do now, one of the
Mm-hmm.
questions that I always think about is when you were a child, like were there always like seeds of this person there? I mean, I think there is, but sometimes we don't see it until we can look back. So were you always one of
Yeah,
those people that was a connector, kind of bringing people together? Were you always like that? Like in grade school, you were getting all the kids together and coloring on stuff?
I wasn't like I was so shy and awkward.
Mm,
I never had a ton of friends. The thing I think that I would always think of different business ideas, and I did wrangle my sister and one of her friends, and we would do these shows. And I'm air quoting for the people who are just listening, because I liked the production and the business aspect of it. And then we would sell tickets to our parents. So,
wow.
yeah. Um, so like those were some of the inklings, but yeah, I was not. Um, I was very awkward, so awkward.
Okay, let's stay there. Okay, because those are the best
Yeah, go.
stories. What was like an awkward thing that you had to figure it out? Like you had to figure this little part out in order to kind of get to like the next step of who you wanted to be and where you wanted to go.
Well, we moved around a lot with for me
Mm,
growing up. Like I went to two elementary schools, two junior highs, and three high schools. So
wow.
I think some of that awkwardness too was like I was in some places like I hadn't even been there long enough to establish relationships. So by the end of it, one of the things that I got really good at was making those initial connections, and it's paid off big time now because I can network anywhere. So, but yeah, like the first time that we moved was I was I think in second grade, going into second grade, and I just felt like the odd girl out like the entire year.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I understand because I'm child of divorced parents, so we were like back and
Hmm.
forth between this side of town and that side of town. And I think it was maybe for me like 5 elementary schools because my dad moved to Connecticut with his side of the family, and so we were back and forth between there. And then it was maybe 3 middle schools because then my dad moved to
Hmm.
Houston, where I currently live. So we're still back and forth between here and Detroit. And that doesn't even like take into account the moving that I did in Houston while we were here.
Right.
And I think it was 3 high schools. So so much moving, and you just kind of
Yeah.
you're always the new kid. Just like, hey, there's a new kid. I'm the new kid. So, like you said, that networking piece, if you can figure that out and learn how to just talk to people, whoa, people still do that. Yes, if you can just learn how to
Yeah.
talk to people in person, it really helps. And I
Yeah.
think, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and we moved from Massachusetts to Reston, Virginia. Um, and in Massachusetts at the time, I don't know if they still say wicked, but every other word out of my like everything was wicked this and wicked that. And the kids in Virginia made fun of me because I said wicked. And I didn't even know I was saying like it was so ingrained in
Mm,
the culture and the language. Like I didn't even know that I said it. So like I was like, no, I'm not. So then we'd start arguing because I wasn't going to back down, right? And I was
no
like, oh
way.
my God, I am. Yeah. But
So, how
it
many
was
different states
definitely,
did you live in?
oh God, I'm going to have to count on my hands.
Oh man.
All right. So do the math with me. Massachusetts,
Hmm.
um, Virginia, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Florida, Pennsylvania, and now So that's eight. I think that's eight. And now North Carolina.
Dang,
So seven or eight.
it's a lot of moving. What's your least
Yeah.
favorite part about
Yeah.
moving?
Packing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife is
Unpacking is kind
always
of fun.
upset when we have to move. She's like, "You're the worst at this part." I just know, like, she's gonna be mad at me for like this, week or 2 weeks, however long. And once we get to the house, I'm like, "Yo, don't worry, I'll move stuff." But when it comes to packing, it's just like you said, it's just the worst. I don't want to put the stuff away. What if I need that? It's already packed in a box.
Yeah. And that last 10% takes forever. Forever. My dad, though, blessed all of us. He's, well, was an engineer when he first started working. And there is an art and science to packing a box and packing a truck, which we all were forced to learn. And we moved around a lot. So there was a lot of opportunity for us to practice and be
Yes.
told what was correct and not. How to move furniture, how to lift the furniture, how to angle the furniture through things
Mm,
that like you wouldn't even believe. Like it's crazy. And I'm so grateful and appreciative for all of that because, well, I don't do my moves now. I did for a really long time.
mm.
And and there was a couple of years where like I we moved, but then my sister moved and somebody else moved and we were helping them. And yeah, I've taken half a truck and unpacked it and reloaded it because like friends had just mispacked all the boxes. I'm like, your stuff's gonna break.
Oh
Like,
man,
you don't put your books on top of like the dishes.
come on
So,
now. That's packing
yeah,
101.
but yeah, I don't like the packing. It takes forever. Uh, no.
Okay, I want to jump into this CEO part a little bit more.
Yeah,
So our
yeah,
next number is 5. So you've got these 5 steps. I think you knew it exactly where I was going to becoming 5 steps to becoming a high performing CEO. And you
yeah,
used this phrase that I really, really liked, and it was called growing connected. I do believe life's all about the growing connected teams. There you go.
yeah, yeah.
Um, how does this happen? Right? I mean, you can give as many of your 5 steps. We don't want to give the whole kit and caboodle. You got a business to
Oh, I'll
run.
give them all away. Yeah, yeah.
All right, here we
Well, and
go.
they can vary too. But the connected teams part is really important because your business is only as good as the people that are working for you.
Mm,
And and it only takes one person to throw the entire team off, too. So people tend to hang on to people who aren't working out or they don't train them up either. They just complain about them um, because they want to avoid the conflict, which I
mm,
get. Like, who wants to have crappy conversations? And that person's not happy either. So
mm,
I'm always in the mindset of train them up or train them over or train them out. And so it's not just like, oh, I don't like you, you're not doing the thing, I'm going to let you go. It's really sometimes you've got the right person in the wrong seat. And
mm,
right, so sometimes giving like creating the opportunity or filling the opportunity for them to do something else within the company is going to allow them to shine and really add value. And then sometimes they just need a little help. I worked for Starbucks for a little while right after I got divorced, and there was this one girl who was super nice that they had brought on, and they to be a barista. And I had been there a while, and I kind of knew all my stuff, and I learn relatively quickly when it comes to those types of things. And I am not the most patient person. And she took forever to learn. And one of the assistant managers who I was really good friends with, like he would spend a long time training her, and it annoyed me at the time. Like this was forever ago. I was like, she doesn't get it. Like, just she's taking up space. She's not pulling her weight. Blah blah blah. She turned into, because he spent that time with her, she turned into one of the best employees in that store that I
Wow.
had ever worked with. So his persistence gave her the opportunity to really learn what she needed to learn to understand the artistry of making incredible foam for cappuccinos, and again, die hard, like espresso coffee, it's all delicious. But she also built some really cool relationships with the customers who were then coming back and buying more and everything else. So like I put that in the back of my head, and I think about that every time when one of my clients like, so and so is not doing blah blah blah, I don't know what to do. It's have the patience to take the time to train them and set them up when you're bringing them in, as I said with the interns, not
Mm.
to overload them. Like what I do now tend to like fire hose. I'm like, we're going to run through a ton of stuff super quickly. I don't expect you to know any of it. Just take, like, I'm going to share everything and then we're going to go piece by piece.
Right.
But that
That
team,
reminds me.
like,
Go,
yeah,
keep going.
as I say, that team is so strong. And so I have a client who owns a wellness studio, and she has, I think, 5 massage therapists now, and then she's got yoga teachers too. And they all have each other's backs. Like they all are working together. They all empty the trash. They all service clients. They all do all this great stuff because she's trained them around her core values, her mission statement, and her long term vision. And they care because she does all these trainings. She does reviews. She plays with them and has fun. And it's really powerful. And it's people. Like for me, the world is about people.
Gonna give a great hand clap
Thank you.
here. Because if you've been around here for a while, you know I talk about the people all the time because the people, they're what makes life worth living are the relationships that you have and how they grow, how they evolve, how they
Mm-hmm.
change, how they start, how they end, you know. And as you were talking and talking about putting people in the right position that's going to be best for them, reminded me of a couple things. So I was 21, 22 ish, and I was looking for a job and I got called. The only place in the mall that called me. I went to like every place, literally 20 different places, put in applications. And Forever 21. And this particular location did not sell men's clothes. So I was just gonna be in there selling women's clothes. And it was fine for me. They paid just like everybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
I got hired as like a backstock guy. And I hadn't been working there more than 3 days. And the manager was like, there's no way we can keep you in the back. Like you've got too much, you got this smile and you got this personality and all this great stuff. Not to toot my own horn, but that's what she said. She said, we can't just have you in the back with all of this, you know. We got to get you out in the
Right?
front. We got to get you getting these ladies in here and buying stuff. And of course, I obliged. And, I worked there for, I want to say it was maybe 2 years, around 2 years. And I did my best there. They wouldn't make me a manager. So I left. I was looking for that next step up because I had done
Right.
everything there was to be done. I could do everything that they needed me to do. So I'm like, okay, I need to grow. And so, that's a different story. But it also reminded me of something that my pastor always talks about because, the church can't work without the people. And a lot of times, when people want to serve, you kind of put them just where we need more people. And sometimes that's a detriment because that person is not good for that role, right?
Mm-hmm.
If this person is not a smiley, happy, great, outgoing person, like we're not gonna make them an usher. We're not gonna make them a greeter, right? But they may be great with numbers. So we could put them on the finance team and they can flourish and be the best that they can be. So that
Hmm.
also reminded me about that, where you have to put your people strategically in the best place, because when they're at their best, now your company or your organization, whatever you're running, now it can be at its best. And so I love how you teach that, because it's sometimes we just like, all right, what do we need work done? Okay, just put them there, and then we overload them with a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah,
Yeah.
please go. I see your face light up.
Yeah.
You're like, I got
I
something
was just
here.
one of the things too that I think is really important for people to understand, because they get into that conflict avoiding situation, is holding on to people who aren't in the right space. You are not
Mm,
doing them any favors. It's not fun to have the conversation if it is time to let somebody go, but holding them there, stuck, like even if they don't know that they need to go do something else or have another opportunity, right? Like even if they're upset about it, it's really, you want to put them in that place to make a change or to make a shift and to have that experience.
mm,
So for me, it's worth having those conversations, because otherwise they're staying there. The average person would rather be comfortable and stuck than to go and make the change. And sometimes you have to help them kind of do that, put them in that place. Um,
do
so
you have an
I think that's
example
a,
where you had somebody
yeah.
that
So
was
if
like,
you have like, yeah, so I mean, if you have somebody who's underperforming and making a lot of mistakes, and you've been working with them, you've been training them, maybe they're not showing up, attendance wise regularly, maybe that they're just not, like they're not fully invested, and it's showing in their work and it's not improving and they're not participating, then that's a good time to let them go. After you've
mm,
spent whatever you feel is the appropriate time, because there's something else out there for them to do and to participate in that they're going to enjoy. And it's just the same thing as what you said, like putting that person in an usher place, one position where really putting them in finance is the right thing. Like that's the opportunity to give them.
mm.
But we don't want to hurt other people's feelings, and you're giving them opportunities.
What's the most difficult conversation that you've had to have, like with an employee of your own, and then that ended up being the best thing, and it worked out in a great situation?
That's a tough one. I'm trying to have to think. Oh, I know. I had a virtual assistant agency a year ago that I let go because they were misbilling me,
Mm,
and the owner waited too long to get involved, and I had to tell her, I'm like, I liked her, I understood what, some of the challenges, but she wasn't fixing the problem in a way that worked for me, and communication is one of, and connectedness and community were really two of my core values. And once that came into my head, I was like, you know what, I can't, like, there is no way to make this right now. Like, we've been months into these things not working. And I said that, I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't align with my core values. Like, this, I don't want to be having this conversation. I think you're a good human. I think you're smart. I think in general you want to do the right thing. But if it was meant to have been resolved, it would have been resolved by now, and it's not.
mm.
And she, I mean, we both were upset, and not in a bad way, not like we both felt badly, but I think she understood, and we parted ways, and that was that.
Man, just
So
listening to that sounds tough, like a huge letdown.
my clients would say that I'm tough. Yeah, we have group calls for my high level clients, and we have a couple of new people in, and they're like, and some of my clients that have been with me for a couple of years, they're like, don't worry, you'll get your turn.
The part where you go, "You don't align with my core values." That's, man, that's a punch in the gut right there, man.
It's honest though. Like I needed her to
Mhm.
be fully understanding of why I was unwilling to try to fix anything anymore.
Right. Right, right, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to go from a punch in the gut to something more pleasant. And I'm going to give you another number here.
I love these numbers.
Okay, the next number. You lived it. Okay, I'm not going to give it away. Okay, I'm just going to give you the number and maybe you'll get it. The number is 33755. That is an area code. You got a guess? Okay,
Three
it is a
three
place that you, huh?
3375.
33755.
I have no idea.
Okay, that is
Where
an
have I
area
been?
code. That's an area code to Clearwater Beach, Florida.
Oh,
I looked
goodness
on the
gracious.
website and it said that's the most beautiful beach in the United States. So I was like, okay, what better way than to segue into all the traveling that you like to do up and down the East Coast, as I've read multiple times while researching you.
Yeah.
So, when did you get the traveling bug? How did that start?
I think it really started when my kids were a little bit older, like in the teens. We went to Italy when I think Brian was a junior or sophomore. Maybe he was a sophomore in high school. I don't remember now. Um, and we had so much fun. We went with a group, which generally is not
Mm,
my thing, but this particular group was fantastic. And I also I just like different experiences. I think the other benefit to moving around to so many places is I'm curious about different food, different culture, different everything. Like where's the cool little thing and what are the similarities and what can I eat and how's the coffee taste? So, you know, all of I'm curious about all of that. Um, and and I also feel because I've again moved around so much, um, you get different perspectives. So I want to
mhm.
see the world and understand the different perspectives because all of those things I get to bring back and touch people's lives with. Um, so I don't think there was one particular time. I mean, we've traveled throughout my life and not like as extensively as some people, but we've
Mhm.
always gone to different places. My goal, one of my goals in the next couple of years is to spend 3 months in the UK because both sides of my family are primarily from the UK. So I'd love to just do like a little genealogy research and maybe see some spots or whatever. And it's a shorter jump to a lot of other places in the world.
Absolutely. When we moved to China, I took a job teaching English, and that was one of the points of emphasis for us. Even though we actually didn't get a chance to move around anywhere, it was okay. Once you get there, there are all these other
Yeah.
places that are in very close distance that you can get somewhere relatively quickly. Um, what's the place that you wanted to go the most at some point?
Um, I have a list. so
Oh, like
so the UK is up there. As I said, just from the historical perspective, I love Italy. I was in Rome and Tuscany this past summer, but I'd love to be like in Sicily and southern Italy. Would love to be in Greece. I would love to be in South Africa. I haven't been to Hawaii yet, and definitely want
hmm,
to do that. Maldives. Um, would love to go to Bali. Bali's on the list.
this list is pretty
Um,
extensive. You've thought about this.
yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, I have a bucket list. I have all my clients write bucket lists. I'm like, if you don't write this stuff out and think about it and start not like, all right, on this date, but like time planning some of it, like it doesn't happen.
Mm.
Life passes by, things, the day-to-day stuff gets in the way. So I try to check off a couple of things every year.
What's the most underrated place that you've been where people wouldn't think like, huh, like that's a great place? What's one of those like under the radar places that you go? You should go here.
Um, Stonington, Connecticut. Love.
Okay.
It is, I've been there like 2 or 3 times now. And it's on this like little tiny peninsula of Connecticut. And the borough part of Stonington is there's no stoplights, there's no grocery store, there's no gas station. Like it's tiny. You just yeah, and it's packed with these houses that were built in the early 1800s,
Mm,
and it's surrounded by water. It's people are just friendly. There's some amazing restaurants. Um, it's I don't know, quiet, peaceful. Like that's one of my restore places.
mm.
I love it there. And it's like 20 minutes from Mystic, so if you want to hop into more of the like mix of things and you can, but it's yeah, love it. And highly recommend in the winter too, which I don't normally recommend anywhere in the winter. So, because I'm
In the
such
winter,
a
so
summer girl.
that's the first thing I thought was, man, you recommended a cold place, at least in the wintertime, because I've been in Connecticut in the summertime. It's pretty nice. So
Yeah.
why in the winter?
That's when I've been there the most. Like I
Mm,
spent 10 days there. I took a sabbatical in November 2020. I spent 10 days there just unplugging.
mm.
Um, didn't work. I had no time. I did nothing. It was great. I sat out on the rocks, chatted with some seagulls, ate amazing food, and really got grounded in myself. But there's no place where like people will ask you, where are you from or what do you call home? Like, I don't have that place.
Mm.
And when I'm there, it feels like what I suspect other people feel like home is. Um,
That's that intuition that you talked about earlier.
yeah,
Like, you know what?
yeah, love it.
This is what home. If this was home for me, I'd be good with that. I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I love it.
Most memorable beach you've been to? Because I specifically saw beach a few times. So
Such a beach girl.
yeah.
Yeah, and I will go to the beach anytime in any weather. Like,
Mm.
does not have to be good weather for me to be at the beach. So,
Hey, just roll up. Here we go. Beach time.
oh yeah, like have had my bare feet in the New Jersey ocean water on New Year's Day. So somewhere there is video of me splashing my way through that.
Man, that's something.
Yeah,
There you go. I'll say
hardcore.
that. That's a story. Okay. So we can't just mention
So,
like New Jersey Beach, New Year's Day. I know it had to be freezing. Like, okay, what's the story?
oh, it was freezing. We were in the guy I was dating at the time, and first of all, I'm a New Year's girl. Like all the other holidays are lovely, but I love New Year's. I realize it's like, oh, it's midnight and then it's over, but it just makes me happy. The whole thing makes me happy. Fireworks, it's like this hard reset of whatever that didn't work, and I'm over that
Mm,
now, and now I'm doing some new things. And my birthday, I obviously love that too. So we went up to Asbury Park, which I had never been to, and stayed at this hotel who's doing the big, party hoopla thing. Did that, got up the next day, and I'm like, we're at the beach, so I have to go in the water. And he was like, excuse me? He's like, it's 40 degrees outside. And yeah, I was
doesn't
like,
matter.
yeah. I'm like, we are here. I'm like, I don't need to hang long because I get cold easily and cold diverse. So, you can bear with me for 20 minutes. So we went and walked up and down the beach, and then I'm like, I'm going in. I am going in. So I
Oh
rolled
my
up my
goodness.
pants, like took my boots off, and then I think it took me like half an hour to feel my feet again after that.
Wow. I could imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Okay.
there's definitely a part of me that's a little kid still, and that's where it comes out.
That's so good. Actually, it's funny you say that because I don't think it was today. Pretty sure it was yesterday. one of my kids who is a manager on the girls basketball team that I coach, and she's actually in my class now. And she said, Coach Franklin, you're a big kid. I said, yeah, I'm a big kid with a kid and a wife and a job. But yes, I'm a big kid. Yes, absolutely. Totally agree because it's just me. Like that's just who I am. So like what am I supposed to do? And just embrace that. Just got to embrace it. Tell my kids we're talking about giving speeches because I'm a speech teacher. And you talk about doing interviews. I also teach interviews and how to, kind of be yourself and flow and give the best answers that you can. But I'm just like you can't be anybody else. It doesn't work. So just be the best version of yourself that you can be that day because we're not going to be our best version every single day. Like it's just impossible, right? But the best version of that, right? If I can get to 88% today, sometimes that's a win. If I could get to 99 or 100% that day, that's definitely a win. But some days you're like, I only got 60% for you. That's all I
Mhm.
have. So I'm like, bring the whole 60 and we'll work with it. We'll work together. So um
I
I think
love
now,
that you're saying that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, because I say that about leadership, right? Like it's the same thing essentially. Like sometimes leading means that you got your butt out of bed and had some coffee. Like because not every day is going to be 120% and you're not going to feel 120%, but doing the thing, like whatever it is that is better than zero, at least gets
Mm,
you on your way.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. This brings us to our three what's. The last part
Yeah.
of the show that I ask every guest. And you can go for as short or as long as you would like with these. Go wherever you want, just like we've been doing for the past hour or so. I love it. This has been absolutely amazing. Okay, here we go. First, what? What's an opinion that you have that will be considered unpopular?
Ooh. I have to think on that. I'll share one of my pet peeves of
Okay.
what, right? Um, Actually, I think everybody should smile at everybody. And my latest thing too is because I've lived in a number of apartment buildings with elevators, is please wait for the people to get off the elevator.
Oh my. Yes. Let me get off first, bums.
So that might be an unpopular opinion. We may circle back to that one when something pops into my head too, because there's more. Um, there's
Oh, you
definitely
got them.
more.
Go ahead and bring them.
Oh
Bring them
no,
now.
they'll come in. They'll come in. I don't have it right this second, but I know that they will.
Okay, we're going to go to the second one.
Yeah.
If you weren't, I don't even know how to like quantify it or title. If you weren't CEO of Empress Enterprises, what would you be doing?
I would either cater again or I would be a hairstylist, I think, or a chef.
Ooh,
Let's go with the chef. Yeah.
chef it
Because I
is.
like the making. Like I like making things and I love when I catered the thing and I ran parties from 6 to 1,000. I did brunch for grandma to weddings to huge corporate events. And I started as a server and then went into like the event planning aspect, and then started my own thing. So I've done a lot of different areas, and I love the chaos. I love that things go wrong, and you just have to make it up. I
You
yeah, I
you'd
love
be
the
a great
crazy
school
hours.
teacher.
That's why I love the Young Entrepreneur Academy kids, the kids that I teach, because it's like herding cats. Like it's crazy and phenomenal, and they have some of the best ideas on the planet.
Oh man, it's it's
Yeah.
it's a wild ride. And so, like, here I go again talking about my classroom. I got my new group of kids because every semester my kids change. I have them for 4 months, right?
Hmm.
And that's it. That's all I get. And then they move on to the next class. Many of them I see in the hallways and I say what's up, so on and so forth. But when they come in, I always tell them, always, always, always. And for some of them, like this is more difficult. I always tell them that I am not going to give you all the answers. I am not even going to give you all the directions. Sometimes my directions will be totally vague on purpose because I need you all. You need you. I know that's not correct grammar, but we understand where I'm going with this. You need to be able to think for yourself. You have to be able to
Hmm.
come up with creative solutions because as you grow, as you learn, as you go out into the workplace, as you go to school, as you go somewhere to be successful, okay, some people are just going to say, figure it out. And I'm going to have this blueprint for you. Or you may come up with something totally new and there are no steps for you to follow. You just have to continue to solve the next problem. And so a lot of things that I, a lot of the things that I do is just like, okay, what do you think? What do you think? Well, should I do this? What do you think? Would you want to do that? No. Okay. Well, there's some leeway here. You don't have to. Okay. What would you rather do? And this one kid was like, well, sometimes that has the opposite effect where I have so many options. I have so many choices. Like, I don't know what to do. I said, well, you better figure it out if you want the grade. I
Yeah.
love to make them think.
Yeah.
Love to.
Well, first of all, thank you. And I honor you for being a teacher because it's a really hard job. And, um, I mean, kids, their personalities are just so diverse. So it's the same. I mean, similar to managing a small team and getting them all in like one coherent thought and in the same place is not easy. So kudos to you. I have my kids
Appreciate
for 10 weeks. So, and I only see them, once a week for a couple of hours, and I get to take them from, um, they've just like conceptualized their business. So we're just starting with business plan all the way to and through them pitching to a panel of 5 to 7 investors and similar. Like I'm not, I'm not giving them the answer. The woman that I work with, we make a great tag team because she's the nice one. And, but they love me for that. I'm like, I don't care how you do it, just get it done.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
go
Okay.
figure it out. Go do the research. I'm not going to sit here and
I
hold your
love
hand while you do nothing. I will completely hold your hand while you're out there figuring it out. And they all have my cell phone number. I'll hop on a Zoom with them at any point in time. Like yeah, yeah, I love it.
we need more people doing that. It's too much hand holding. But don't get me on the hand holding soapbox, okay? We're just
All right, there we go. That is my unpopular opinion. My kids left my house knowing how to cook, clean, iron, balance a checkbook, manage money. Like they're 22 and 24 like this week,
mm,
both of them, and they've both been on their own financially stable for over a year.
that's what I'm
Like,
talking about. Good job,
yeah, like
moms.
I thank you. Single mom at that too. So it was, it wasn't easy, but um I just didn't I needed them to be responsible and
Mm,
independent, for me to be able to be a good mom. And the whole helicoptering thing, no, because you're not benefiting your kids by not allowing them and giving them, again, it's the opportunity to fail. I set my kids up to fail over and over and over again. I got them a debit
mm,
card as soon as they were old enough to have one, and was like, here you go, with no rules. So they learned about
mm.
money quickly in a place and in an environment where I could then guide them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Failure is a part of life. You cannot learn the most valuable lessons without failing. Like that is where the meat and potatoes of life and experience and connection. Like,
Yeah.
just think about how we connect with people. Like, we just connected earlier over our parents moving us all over the country
Oh my God.
and
Yeah.
how we turned out because of it. Like, that's literally where we connected. That, and of course coffee. Uh
Yeah.
but like, these are the things that like weave us into the fabric of our communities. Is okay, what sucks, right? We can all really bond over what sucks, and then we can bond over it, and then we can grow from, okay, how did it get better? What
Yeah.
happened? What switched? What changes did I make? What changes happened around me? Who helped me? Who put me in a position to fail forward? My principal says that. She says fail forward. That's a really good one I like. She also
Hmm.
says fail fast, fix fast. I'm like, that's what
Yep.
I'm talking about. Because the failure is gonna
Yeah.
happen. You can't avoid it.
Well, and
Okay.
I'd rather have them
Yes.
fail, right, at 16 and 18 and 20 and than at 40 and get some
Mm,
of those experiences, one, out of the way, but two, as I said, have guidance. And there's smaller failures,
mm.
right?
The
So
stakes are
that's,
much less.
yeah, and it was cool because like their friends came to my house to hang out, and I got to kind of imprint on them too. So we would all sit around. There were some Friday nights like they would come over like after school and we'd be hanging in my office for like 2 hours
Yeah.
with teenagers, like, which is crazy. But and I started asking
Interesting.
like, what are you grateful for? And what was the most interesting part of your school day? And what do you think about this topic? And engaging them. Like there was no uh-huh or nothing. And it took my kids a while to come up with, like, they started coming prepared for the what are you grateful for, what do what was the best thing you learned, or whatever I was asking that, like, that week. And then their friends were showing up for it too, and I'm
Mm.
like, don't think you're getting out of this. And I'm like, you either show up prepared or we're going to make things up for you.
Wow, Emmy. Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's perfect because it brings us to our last what. And it is, what advice would you give to someone in high school?
Oh my goodness, do it all. And not like do all, like, everything all of the time, but like do the wild adventure.
Mm,
Like whatever it is that lights you up, regardless of how crazy or insane it might be, or the idea that comes to you that nobody is like backing, go do it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by pursuing your dreams and trying that and having it work or not work or adjusting it and learning from it than anything else. This whole thing that you need to have your entire life figured out at 18 or 20 is ridiculous. And the pressure
hmm.
that we put on kids to like pick a major and go to college and do this thing. And not that college isn't a great opportunity. That's not my point. It's that allow life to unfold and stop trying to figure it out and be in the tunnel vision of I have to do this thing. Fill yourself up.
That's
And
perfect. Perfect. Okay, Emmy, please, Miss Kirschner, tell people where they can find you. Social media, website, plug
oh
it
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so website's emikirschner.com. Almost all my social is Emi Kirschner. Instagram, it's at the Emi Kirschner because last year Instagram decided to delete me randomly for no reason. Um, I don't know why, but yeah, if you Google Emi Kirschner, you'll find me.
Okay. Wow, this was amazing. So much fun for me.
Me too, thank you.
Okay, I'm glad to have you on. And I just want to thank everybody who has listened, will listen. Make sure you all share, rate, review, 5 stars. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Subscribe on Apple or Spotify for the extra stuff, the stuff that's going to happen after this. Yeah, you have to subscribe to get that part. Also, make sure you follow me on IG, TikTok, The Living Numbers Podcast, and merch link in the description. Hoodies, t-shirts, so on and so forth. Now, signing off for the Emi Kirschner, I am your host, Tony Rambles, and I will see you all in the next ramble. Voila.